You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Drew Allar looks exactly the same. He's still missing easy open throws. How are we having jitters against FIU? If you're not a mobile quarterback, you better be accurate. Okay, so we can talk through... I know the plays that you're referring to. There's the swing pass to Nicholas Singleton. There's the moon ball. Is that what we're going to call it here collectively? The moon ball that he's trying to throw to Devonte Ross. So it's kind of a double whammy, and this actually might upset some Penn State fans more when I get to my explanation of those air balls that he tries to drop into the breadbasket rather than kind of throwing with just some basic arc. Okay, you want it delivered. You don't want this multiple. It takes 2 to 3 business days to get there. Okay, that's what people are looking for. In Allar's case on different, is Allar perfect? No, I don't expect him to complete every single pass, but I do want to point out that it is not his fault every single time, even if he does say so in a press conference. This is my opinion, okay? There's a chance that I might be wrong. Allar is not going to throw Singleton under the bus and say, yeah, he made a bad move, or he was not on the same page as me. As the veteran captain quarterback, you are going to say, it's on me, it's my fault, I missed an easy throw. A lot of Drew's throws are timing and spot related. They don't go directly to the receiver. They're supposed to go to a place. They are supposed to go to a spot more often than not. In regards to that Singleton swing pass, which is just a quick out, what I'm seeing is, how is Allar so inaccurate from 5 yards out? Okay, so you might, and that's the thing, some people are going to believe and say that Allar is that inaccurate. He's not a legitimate NFL draft prospect. Take him in day 3. I don't believe that, because we see throws like the one to Kaytron Hudson in the last game. The throw to Devonte Ross, not the moon ball, but the one where he hits him in the corner of the end zone, and it's on a rope. When Allar misses a simple 5-yard swing pass, why is that? Why is he missing a routine pass like that? Is it because Singleton's not in the right spot? Is it because he's going too horizontally and not enough vertically? Because when I look at that play, I think Singleton's supposed to get more of a running start so Allar can hit him in stride, and then he's able to run 10 yards at least, and then maybe you get more, and then that becomes an explosive play. I think that that's a very complicated way of looking at a 5-yard incompletion that just looked like a boneheaded throw from Drew Allar, but that's what I think. Allar is inaccurate from time to time, but I also think that he's throwing to a spot on other plays, and these are very precise, timed throws, passes, however you want to do it. And I don't think him and Singleton were on the same page. I think Singleton was supposed to be a little more upfield. Allar's throwing to a spot because he thinks, my running back's going to be here, so let me lead him. And Singleton is basing, and that's these little mistakes when you are not on the same page are frustrating, especially if they're frustrating for you. They're frustrating for Singleton and Allar because they played together for 4 years. And I think they can fix it, because you do that against FIU, you can correct that for Oregon. So that's how I see it, is that a lot of Allar's passes are timing related. They're spot related. If a receiver is not in a spot, it's to prevent turnovers, interceptions. So it's like, man, Allar was really inaccurate on such an easy throw because maybe the receiver wasn't in the right spot. That's not always the case, but I think that's some of the case and more than people realize. On the moon ball, okay, so this is where we're going to get a little somewhat controversial. He's being told to do that. In simple terms, he's being coached to do that. James Franklin has gone on the record with this. Penn State wants to give, and I think it's interesting you do that with Devonte Ross. Penn State is looking to avoid overthrows. They would rather have a 50-50 jump ball to give the wide receiver a chance to come down with it, as opposed to a low percentage throw where Allar accidentally overthrows the player or whatever have you, or it leads to an interception. So Penn State is actually trying to get him to hover the football so that the wide receiver has a better chance with it. You're probably going to disagree with that, but Franklin has said that they prefer Allar doing that where he lofts the football. That makes sense to me for Kaytron Allen. It doesn't for Devonte Ross. Devonte Ross is going to be the fastest football player on the field at a given time 9 times out of 10, maybe even more than that. When you go up against Ohio State and Oregon, I think that's up for debate. But everybody else, Devonte Ross is probably the fastest player. Throw the football and say, go get it. kind of thing when it comes to a speedy wide receiver like him. But that is why Allar is throwing those lofty passes. It's not because he can't or he doesn't know how. Because we see the throw in the back of the end zone to Ross. Oh, what? That's a completely different throw. Yeah, Allar can make them, but he's being told to throw those air balls. So that's how you should interpret Allar a little. I give him a little more grace there because it's not just as, oh, he can't make those throws. No, he can make those throws. Sometimes it's not as, it's not as black and white. It's not as cut and dry as, that was a bad pass. No, wide receiver and quarterback weren't on the same page. Wide receiver and or running back and quarterback weren't on the same page. Crazy how we play sloppy and still win 34-0 just goes to show you how good this football team is looking at this glass half full. And it was just one position group for one half. And this live show is brought to you by DoorDash. So the weekend is here, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, when you can save more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most, so let's break it down. I'm going to go with a wide receiver again. For Penn State, I'll go with Devonte Ross. He delivered in a big way because we know that receiver has not been the position of strength for Penn State. Last week, I said it was Trevor Pena and Kaytron Allen. This week, I'm going to go with Devonte Ross just because he solidifies that trio. A one-handed catch, pass interference by the defensive back. Devonte Ross is not known as that catch in traffic type of receiver, but made that kind of play. He came through, no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been following along, you know that this performance is not a fluke. And just like Devonte Ross delivered for Penn State, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You can save every Saturday that you order. Stack it up over all season. You could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. And today's episode is also brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than just simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive. And that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, beyond style and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. As an athlete focuses on every detail themselves, Mazda does the same. From metallic accents to hand-stitched Napa leather, you can feel it the moment you get behind the wheel. The smooth handling, intuitive controls, standard all-wheel drive in every crossover SUV. So whether it's a quick drive to practice or a weekend road trip, Mazda makes even everyday drives feel special. It's the small details that make the big plays. And just like there's more to every player, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda. Move and be moved. And Penn State, again, they are not interested in winning by 1,000 points. If they were to win 10-0 against FIU, they consider that the same as beating them 1,000-0. If that, let's keep it realistic, 100-0. They defeat FIU 100-0. They look at it the same way as defeating them 10-0. You don't need to do that, and I don't want them to do that. I would rather them win ugly against FIU and save all of their best plays and motivation and whatever else for the games that are more consequential, that do matter more. And I know that you need to win those games because if you lose to FIU, you don't get anywhere. I completely understand that. You lose that game, you are out of the season, right? You don't get to the playoffs. So that's why there is that 1-0 mentality. But we are human. There is going to be more juice. This is across the board. This is for the Penn State fan base, people covering the sport. I have more interest covering Penn State and Oregon in the whiteout game than I do Penn State and FIU at noon. Okay? We're all on the same page with that. The football team, you as a fan, as a spectator, and me covering the team and talking about them. Okay, there's more angles, there's more storylines, there's more at stake, right? James Franklin in the big game, Oregon in the whiteout. Oh, here's FIU with noon kickoff on Big Ten Network. Oh, you forgot the game was going on, right? Outside of this show or following Penn State coverage, who knew how many people were looking forward to that game? But the defense played very well. Aside from, and this is where James Franklin points to, so when you say, okay, we played sloppy, Penn State played sloppy. The offense played sloppy. The defense was actually pretty good. Special teams were pretty good. The defense, though, in particular, and this is what people scoff at. Well, James Franklin says that we're rotating in a lot of people on defense. On defense, they're rotating tons of people. Defensive end, defensive tackle, not so much linebacker. Not so much linebacker. I guess Keon Wiley is that rotational player. Cornerback. Safety. Oh my goodness. Other than linebacker, they're rotating everybody and their brother into this, in and out of this lineup. And Penn State still shut out an FIU team that has a preseason all-conference quarterback nominee, a three-headed monster at running back in respect to the Conference USA. That is a really good running back trio for that level of competition. And Penn State still shut them out. Forced turnovers. So the offense is the one that should be critiqued because, well, the defense was still pretty average because they let up a few chunk plays and they allowed drives to extend. They didn't give up any points. That's what I'm focused on. Oh, they let up an inconvenient third down. If those third down conversions and fourth down conversions had led to points, I'd be a little more frustrated. You just made your job more difficult. Deny Dennis Sutton or whoever else was on the field. You just made your day a little more uncomfortable, difficult. You just had to stay out on the football field longer instead of, hey, we got off the field sooner out of this drive. If that translates, you give up a fourth down conversion at midfield, and then that translates into 3 or 7 points. Yeah, because it's consequential. No, you just ended the drive at a later time. It didn't translate into anything. It didn't convert into points. Special teams. I mean, Gabe Nwosu booted a 70-yard punt and flipped the entire football field. That isn't a one-off play. That is what Gabe Nwosu can do routinely, and which is why he overtook a former captain in Riley Thompson, a former all-conference player, captain in Riley Thompson. Gabe Nwosu can just punt the ball 70 yards, doesn't need a lucky bounce or anything. They pinned the football inside of the one. I think that was at the half-yard line. Punting unit is better. Kick return unit is better. Punt return. So punt coverage, punt return, kick return. Kickoff, I guess, needs a little work, right? We saw Gabe Nwosu kick 2 out of bounds. That's unacceptable. But you have Ryan Barker. Okay, if he's not going to handle kickoff duties, if he's totally just now the superstar punter, then you make that substitution. Barker's automatic. Other than the blocked field goal, Barker has not missed. He's automatic. He's reliable. You can trust him. So it was just the offense in the first half because then they clicked. it wasn't perfect in the third quarter, but they were moving the football. They were getting those bigger chunk plays. Kaytron Allen late in the game broke off a near 70-yard run. Finished with almost 150 yards. Also, I do want to go back on the record that I said that Kaytron Allen would be the one to set the rushing record and not Nicholas Singleton, because they're both really good running backs. One isn't better than the other. It is truly who's having the hotter day. But because Singleton is going to be so much more involved when we get to Big Ten conference play, we will see Singleton more involved in the passing game. That's going to eat those count as touches in the scheme of things. So it really comes down to statistics. That, yeah, Singleton might end up having more all-purpose yards than Kaytron Allen this season, but Allen should, if both of them are healthy for a full schedule, Allen's going to have more rushes and more carries like he did today. Now, the one breakout play, the one long run, Singleton can do that, and we've obviously seen him do that. But don't think for a moment, Kaytron Allen is running back number 2. Singleton is miles ahead, and Allen's a day 3 NFL draft pick, and Singleton's a day 1 as a first round pick. No, these guys are very close. They're just different. And because of that difference, you're going to see Singleton catch the football a lot more, which will eat into his potential rushing total, which is fine by me if it translates into Penn State wins. But just know that, do not be surprised if Kaytron Allen ends up winning. It ends up being is crowned the all-time leading rusher in Penn State history. Do not let that surprise you. It shouldn't, because Kaytron Allen is really good at football, and he's going to have the volume there from the statistics.